All right, I got 4 questions. What is deja vu? How to cope with triggers? What's the benefit of sunbathing? And I feel stuck. So let's start with what's the benefit of sunbathing. So first of all, we want to rework, and I've been speaking about melanin. So if you go back in my post, you'll see a little bit about melanin. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the question box down there. I'll try and keep track with the comments. It's something I normally don't do. Benefits of sunbathing. So first of all, we want to comprehend what light is, and also have an open mind that everything that we have been taught in schools may be true to a degree. It may be, quote, false to a degree. But we want to have an open mind about other possibilities. So the other possibility with light is that it's more like electricity than it is like fire, like just energy coming off of a fire, right? We're kind of taught that the sun is a burning ball of gas, and when we think about that, it leaves a lot to be explained, right? So I think about light more as electricity, and then the way that the body works is it's biophotonic, so it's a living light entity. And so the fascia of the body actually transmits photons. The nervous system through melanin also transmits photons, and essentially everything on this planet, everything in our body is photonic energy, which, as I was saying, is more like electricity as opposed to like a combustion, heat, fire energy. And within this electricity, there's information. And that information is calibrating based on time and space, emotions, thoughts, feelings, actions, reactions. All that's being calibrated. Now, the sun is going through its own phase of life just like we are, and the benefits of sunbathing are that we get the upgraded photons of the light source, right? So the earth is living, the sun is living, it's all living through the information in light. Getting into light gets us the daily upgraded code. So that's one of the benefits of getting into the light that maybe a lot of people don't think about. That we are light, and in order to harmonize with the light source and what it's going through in its evolutionary process, we would be out in the light, which is naturally how we are evolved to be, right? We've got the melanin in our skin, in our hair, in our brain, in our nervous system, in many of our organs, there's melanin, and that's transferring the biophotonic luminescence of what we use mostly just to see on this planet, right? That's how we sense our environment. We see this light, but also that light is transferring through our body. Also, our cells also give off light. So that was going in a different direction. Next question was how to deal with triggers. Triggers, right? So an easy way, psychologically speaking, to deal with triggers is to know why you're being triggered, right? Because a lot of the time when we get triggered, we feel like we're getting triggered by someone, by an event. And if you just think about that thought, oh, you trigger me, or this thing triggered me. Well, they didn't. Like, the trigger exists independent of the external circumstance. Right? So the key isn't to change the external circumstance. It's to recognize that you have a trigger for some reason independent of the external circumstance. And most likely you're creating the external circumstance to pull the triggers, because those triggers give you a dopamine rush, and you probably are addicted to them, to the drama of what gets activated when a trigger gets pulled. So if you obligate the trigger to bring up the emotion. So we want to make sure if it's so the person asking the question said something about her daughter, I can say this, her daughter triggers her. All right. So when it's something like your daughter triggering you, right? that's maybe something you want to look into and untrigger the trigger, right? And of course, it doesn't come through changing the daughter. It comes through changing your programs of what is originally causing that trigger. And most likely it's coming from the mom, right? So you want to go back and you want to comprehend and dig up why this thing triggers you to begin with. And then that way, when things in your environment, in your reality, in your partner, and family members trigger you, you can sit with yourself in your own head when it's happening, while it's happening, and think, okay, it's not the person. It's an internal programming, and I can just choose to turn this internal programming off and not feel the flood of emotions of anxiety, fear, anger, lust, whatever that trigger is startling in you. So how to deal with triggers is just realize that the triggers are happening within you. And then when you get triggered, take a breath through the nose, realize that it's just an internal programming running that you're addicted to, and choose in the moment to release the addiction. Don't let those flood of emotions come through you, because the more that you let that happen, the more that you are going to fuse those neural pathways together and essentially get more addicted to your triggers. Next question. Oh man, they're already in the freaking question box. That's awesome. All right, so I don't have to memorize this. If you guys have questions, put them in the question box. Next question, what's deja vu? This I didn't know if I was going to answer, but really what we're talking about is a premonition, right? It just basically means that you had a premonition, a vision, a feeling of something that is happening now. You had that vision or premonition in the past. The way that I actually look at desires is a premonition. So if you guys rework, so everything, a big thing about our human technology is that we can rewire, we can reprogram, we can give meaning to the things to basically anything. And what I've given meaning to desires is I give meaning to desires as premonitions. I don't know if that sentence made sense. But if you think about a desire as a premonition to a reality that you're going towards, and the reason why you desire such item or such person or such event is because your intention, out of the infinite realities, your intention with this particular reality, and that tension is causing a premonition of desire, right? So as opposed to desire being a function of lust, like I want it, I need it, right? Like the Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like the precious, like there's that type of desire which is very, very low vibrating, okay? It comes from lack and fear of not having. It's a very low vibration desire. It's actually lower than anger. But if you think about desire as a premonition, like, oh, I just got a glimpse of my future reality that I'm traveling towards, and I'm going to trust this vision and ride the tension to that reality, that is an emotional state more in line with trust and faith, love, harmony. And so I know the question was about deja vu, but this is about how basically all of our desires are formulations of deja vu if you're able to manifest your desires, which I've been able to do. Anything that would come to me as a desire, I trust it as a premonition of a future reality that I'm traveling towards, and eventually I get it. And that's pretty much been happening for as long as I can remember. At least 10 years I've been able to do this. Definitely one of the first times was winning nationals on a hockey team. We were last place in the division one year, and then the next year I had this desire, this premonition of winning nationals. I wrote it down in my notebook in class in college. So that was like 20 years ago. So that was probably the first time that I had like a serious manifestation, and I was already meditating then, so I kind of was understanding how reality is put together. So deja vu, it would be awesome if everything that we ever desired was a deja vu, right? If we imagine something, we're like, oh, I'm in tension with that reality. I feel a magnetic attraction to it. And then we harmonize ourselves into that manifestation. That's my intention for everyone, right? I'm in tension with the reality that everybody is able to do this. And that is what, if I think about all the different reasons for life, right? Whether we think about the earth is flat, the earth is created by aliens, the moon is fake, this is a matrix, this was created by God, and this is all like to determine whether we're going to heaven or hell. Like in any one of those situations, this is just a dream, nothing is real, and we're just energy experiencing itself. In any one of those situations, the underlying thread that connects them all is that we are here experiencing physical reality, experiencing linear time in a way where we are faced with choices of how we respond to situations. And those choices seem to be present in every single one of those scenarios, whether the earth is fake or real or created by God. We're still here. Situations happen. We have a response, right? An ability to respond, a responsibility. And based on our ability to respond, we progress through the evolutionary emotional scale of life, right? We have emotions that we experience in this life. And some of us are in the animal, fear, survival, territorial state all the time. And we're responding or reacting, which is a more accurate word at that level, reacting to the situations from that standpoint. If we learn and progress through the situations and learn to have things like trust and acceptance, then we can respond to situations with acceptance and eventually respond to situations with love and harmony, and eventually respond to situations by transcending the situations, right? Where we're transcending and basically we're always transcending into a next version of the situation. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, the whole point is that in every version of a story of what reality is, we're here to learn and to progress, which leads me to the next question. You guys can put questions in the question block, but the next question is, I feel like I'm stuck, which happens to a lot of us. All right. And this goes back to like the whole purpose of life. We're here to respond and to progress through the situations that we find ourselves in. So if you feel like we're stuck, this is just us putting a label to our current situation. And the answer to this is to focus on progression as opposed to goals. A lot of times people feel stuck because they're not hitting the goals that they have. I got a message from somebody, I think I took a screenshot. The guy said, I'm going to chiropractor school, and he said he was taking his board exams to this weekend. So basically he's graduating from chiropractor school and he feels like he doesn't know what to do. He feels like he's stuck. So it's just the same thing that this person asked. What if I feel stuck? The dude is graduating. So basically his dream when he started chiropractor school, I don't know how long it takes, let's say 2 to 6 years. I'm not really sure. He's living his dream of what he set out to do many years ago. And yet he's still in this frame of reference of, I need to survive and things don't feel right. And so I'm on guard. What's going on? So it goes back to the trigger thing. Make sure that when you feel certain things, that you analyze and go into the programming. What is it about you that you never feel satisfied, that you always feel stuck? Where does that come from? Does it come from something that your parents programmed into, that no matter what you do, you're not doing it correctly? Does it come from a coach? Does it come from you? Maybe you played a single person sport and it was always you versus you, and you trying to get better every single day and you never being good enough. Like, did you develop that in your own head? Because if you're about to graduate from something that took you many years to, and you're still feeling inadequate, that's never going to go away. You could become president of the free world over trying to do that for 20 years, and you're still going to feel inadequate. And that's what happens to a lot of people. When I was in psychology school, there was a study that's, showed that there's a reverse correlation to happiness when it comes to money. So the more money you make, the less happy you are. And these studies are, when you actually look at how they're done, you can pretty much make anything. You can prove anything with studies. It just depends on like how you pick the studies and how you formulate the results based on kind of like how you put it together. So I think that a lot of success-oriented people are constantly chasing the next success, so they attain great things in their life. They attain a lot of money because they've got this underlying flow of anxiety that they're not good enough. And that's not everyone, right? And I don't think it has anything to do with money, because there's some people that have that same, quote, issue, and they're going in another direction, right? Where they're trying to get the next high with a drug, or they're trying to go to the next realm with psychedelics, or they're trying to bang the next chick so that they feel like powerful, or they're trying to get the next guy to buy them a drink. There's many other ways that this gets satisfied besides just in the financial success realm. So I'm not saying that all wealthy people are like this. It's just a part of something that we all have to deal with. Wow, my boyfriend is graduating with his bachelor's and is feeling the exact same way. Yeah, guys, this is something. It's just like being triggered. You had this security of feeling like you were achieving a goal, and so that's what stopped you from feeling inadequate during the climb. But as you get closer to the goal, you feel like it's not good enough, because the goal isn't ever good enough, guys. We shouldn't be I shouldn't use the word shouldn't, because that's a strong word. I invite you to focus on progression. That way, as you achieve the goals, they happen automatically, and you're also not getting this high and then this crash once you approach the finish line and you realize that there's not another finish line. If you just focus on daily habits, daily progressive habits, you can be always in a state of harmony by knowing that every single day you are progressing through your evolutionary scale of consciousness or emotional states. Okay, I've covered Deja Vu, I've covered sunbathing, how to cope with triggers, I covered that, I feel stuck, I covered that. If you guys have questions, I'm reading questions from the question box, which is at the bottom of the screen. Trust is the utmost important. Many don't trust themselves, yet trust outside the self. That's an example of a non-question in the question box. When you let go of triggers or traumas, does your personality change? That's a good one. Meaning, the ego and pride, etc., that was built up with the triggers and trauma. If you lose the ego, do you lose that personality? So the question, it seems like, Kiyokov's world, and then the next question is, can we materialize physical things? Which the short answer to that question is yes. I'll talk a little bit about it. But as you let go of attachments or triggers, does your personality change? That's a good one, because a lot of us may feel like, I don't want to change, right? And we're a little bit scared of who we might be as a different person, and that's what keeps us as we are. And so a lot of people stay running the same programs and going through the same cycles because of the attachment to who we are. And it's a simple choice. Do you want to stay in the reality that you're in, or do you want to be somewhere else? Because the only way to change is to change. And we don't have to feel like we're losing ourselves, okay? Think about it more as an evolution. So if you guys imagine, this is a good example. If you guys imagine yourself as a child, okay, imagine how you were playing, you expressed yourself, and you think back to like kind of those immature ways or those naive ways or those innocent ways of being. That's all still inside of you. You have that aspect of yourself, and that aspect of yourself is actually running a lot of the programs that you're doing right now. But you don't have the need to experience that right now, right? We remember what it was like to be 8 years old, but we don't show up to a business meeting as an 8-year-old, right? So that aspect of ourself, it still exists. It's still important to you. It's still within you. It still kind of resonates through you, but you transmute that into this new version of yourself. So those of us who may be afraid of changing, whether it's like to start meditating or to start accepting things, or for a lot of us, I'm not necessarily included in this, but a lot of people on this planet, it's like doing a psychedelic, right? That can shift you. It's more like this child scenario where you still carry with you this current version of yourself, but you're going to be more open and evolved because of this new sense of reality, or this new detachment to things that you used to be attached to, that you just have no need to be like you are right now all the time. And so you don't lose anything. You actually just gain more experience so that you have more windows of perception to look at life with. As I began this live, I was talking about our ability to respond to situations is the whole reason why we're here. It's just a constant practice of responding to situations, and that ability, that response ability, is the reason why we're here. If we look at all the different situations, that seems to point like that's the underlying thread. If we are just gods coming down to experience physical reality and to experience what it's like to manifest, so that when we return to source, to the heaven scenario, or let's say this is some sort of simulation, we're doing a simulation to learn something, and then when we return to the non-simulated environment, the source environment, these powers that we're practicing here, we want to make sure that we're not going to blow up the entire universe when we actually do have extreme power to manifest our will. That's why we got just slivers of it right now. But I think that we all have the ability, and all of us collectively are creating this. Which goes to the next question, which was, can we materialize physical things? Avatar Academy. Just do an experiment. So when I was learning about all of this magic, woo-woo, spiritual, however you want to call it, stuff, when I was 19, so like 20 years ago, and then I like was becoming an adult and in school, and it was all an experiment. So if you view things online, or view things in books, or come across things in conversation or realizations on your own, a lot of it seems like, wow, we are super powerful, we're creating this. So when you have a question like, can we materialize physical reality? Try it. I use if-then statements as my guide, as my science. All right. So if we can materialize physical things, then I should be able to materialize fill in the blank. So if you really want to know the question or the answer to that question, then do an if-then experiment. If I do have the ability, so don't trust me, right? I'm telling you all that you do have the ability to materialize physical things, okay? So based on that information that you heard, right? Whether it's from you view me as external or you view me just as a function, because I am just essentially a manifestation, a created manifestation of yourself. So a created manifestation of yourself just told you that you do have the ability to manifest physical things. With that information, you can run an if-then experiment. If I have the ability to manifest or to materialize physical things, then I should be able to manifest whatever. I'm about to sell my Polaris slingshot in 45 minutes. And I've had it for 5 years, and I bought it in 2018. Oh, so I've had it for 4 years. But in 2015, I saw a commercial when the Polaris slingshot first came out, and it was like a really cool commercial of like burning out and driving really fast. And I thought to myself, and I already done this experiment, so I already know that I can manifest. But I thought to myself, like, I had this premonition that this was going to be my next car. And I had 4 cars at the time. So I didn't have a need to have it right then. But over the course of the next 3 years, I those cars shed from me, mostly because I closed my gyms and I was running out of money, so I had to sell them to eat. But eventually I met somebody and we started a project, and as part of the project we had money, and there was kind of like a signing bonus, and with that signing bonus I got the slingshot that I'm going to sell right now. And the reason why I'm selling it is because there is something else that Seema and I wanted, an investment property that we wanted, and we had to come up with a large sum of money. And I didn't necessarily know how that was going to happen, but I did know that us having ownership in this investment deal was going to happen. And so one night I was going to bed and I just thought to myself, like, because tomorrow there was a deadline before we had to let somebody know that we were going to be in or out of the deal. And I went to bed and I just thought, like, wow, tomorrow's the day that I'm supposed to come up with this larger sum of money than I have. And I thought to myself, I wonder how that's going to happen. And as soon as, like, almost as soon as I it wasn't even a question. It was like, I wonder how that's going to happen. It's going to be exciting to see how this comes through. As soon as that was riddling off in my head, another, like, message layered on top of it that just said, sell the cars, which was nuts because we paid cash for our Tesla. I've got a truck and I have the slingshot, which is paid off. And if we sell all those, then we have the money. And so that was really interesting to see that I had complete trust that we were going to find the money, even though I had no idea where it was going to come from. And because we sell the cars that we paid cash for, we get new cars that we finance that are going to be even better. So it works out. It's not like we're going to go into a hole. We're going to just basically receive the equity of the things that we bought, and we can turn that equity into an investment. So the point is, use if-then statements to prove to yourself that we can manifest physical reality. Just do experiments, and you might find out that you can't, which is good for you to know, right? But just thinking that you can or can't based on what your parents taught you or what you have thought over the last 10 years. Maybe you tried to 10 years ago and you couldn't. Run an if-then statement. Like, if I can, then I should be able to do this. And then just see. All right, sayonara, everybody. I don't see many other questions. Take care. I'm off to sell the slingshot.